actually. So don't worry if something goes wrong. I am always here to help you. Just follow my instructions, not to be confused. And I hope that the session will be fun and interesting for you and everything will go smoothly. So we start today, again, the first new series. And as you have probably noticed in the topic, we're going to talk about some super skills for almost adults. So who do you think these almost adults are? Who do I mean under almost adults? Are these kids? Or maybe who is in between, you know, kids and adults? Who could that be? Can you please type in your chat boxes your ideas of who these almost adults are? Yes, you're right. Thanks, Natalia was the first to mention that they are actually teens. Absolutely correct. Our typical teenagers, 13 to 16 years old, not quite kids anymore, right? Their life is absolutely different now. And if we talk about the life of a typical teenager, what do you think this life can consist of? So in your chat boxes, can you share your ideas of what can be a part of teenagers' life? Something for teens, something they think about, they worry about. Internet, of course, right? So modern teenagers can't live without their smartphones, their any kind of devices. You're absolutely correct. Gadgets, social networks, music. Okay, some great ideas here. Thank you very much. And relationships and friends, fashion, of course, great. So you've got lots of wonderful ideas. And I can just maybe sum them up with these 4 areas. So of course, school, because it still takes up the biggest part of their time. Maybe love, interest, and the first relationships they start having. Of course, their friends and hobbies. And by hobbies, we can include, you know, everything starting from music and dancing and to social networks and being a YouTuber, whatever they like doing. But we also say that they are almost adults, so they are in the process of becoming adults, they're growing up, and actually they're growing up very quickly. And they will start thinking about some new things. New issues will start to worry them. So again, in your chat boxes, can you name some new areas, some new issues that our young adults will start thinking about? So one of them has been already mentioned. Somebody said school graduating, right? So it's very important. It's right ahead of them. They need to start thinking about what happens next. Exams, you're right. Their appearance is important. So again, lots of different areas, future work and job. You're absolutely correct. Again, summing this all up, maybe we can talk about these like 5 areas, which is choosing the profession. That is very important and quite difficult for most of the teenagers. They are still in doubt about what they want to do in the future. Then, after choosing the profession, actually getting their higher education, studying at the university, getting their first job, maybe part-time, maybe full-time, so it depends. The first, steps in their own family life will be taken very soon. And of course, in all of these areas, they will be, faced with communication with lots of different people of different backgrounds. And we as adults understand that to function well in all these areas, to be kind of a successful adult, we need different skills. And when we talk about skills, there are dozens, even important skills that humans develop through their life. So of course, we can't talk about all of them. We'll just focus on some of them that are quite relative to what we do in our lessons. And take a look at the skills that are on the slides right now. So if we try to match them with the area that they are mostly associated with, of course, they are all, interconnected and they are all necessary in every sphere. But if we focus on self-directed learning, for example, so now on the slide, you will see a voting box appeared. What is self-directed learning associated with? So please, in the voting box, can you vote, can you tick or just click on this area that you think students will need this skill? So instead of writing in your chat box, can you please vote so that everybody can see the results? So I can see that people are actively voting. Higher education and choosing profession are now in lead, and you're absolutely correct. So let's allow another 5 seconds for everyone to vote. So you need to just click on the slide, on the word, exact word, or just put a tick in the box so that your vote is counted. And you can vote for several areas if you want to. So we'll see how it goes. And well, we can see that still most of our participants today think that it is important for choosing profession and higher education. And I absolutely agree with you. I think that we all hope that after they finish school, they will become these autonomous learners. They will understand what they need to learn, why they are learning all these different things, and they will be successful in their future life. So thank you very much for your active voting. We'll probably close it right now. And let's move on to another skill. Let's think about cultural awareness. Again, probably it is necessary in all the areas, but in this new voting box that appeared, can you please vote again? What about cultural awareness? When do we use it a lot? Where, in which area is it the most necessary? So I can see that now you're voting very actively. Thank you very much. I hope that everything is working okay for you. The technical side of our webinar is also very important for us. And most of you think it's communication. And I absolutely agree with you. Of course, knowing that people can come from different cultural background, family background, even national background is very important when you communicate with them, when you talk to them. And they will talk to dozens and hundreds of different people in all the areas that are on the slide right now. So if you experience any problems with the sound, you can try logging out and logging in. That's what usually helps. And thank you for the vote. Again, we can close it right now. So the skills, there are, of course, many more skills, even more than there are on the slide right now. And it may seem a little bit overwhelming for us as teachers. But what's important for us is that we just know how to help our teens grow up into these successful adults by developing all these skills in our lessons. And actually, it is not that difficult. And I hope that you will see it today, that as long as we remember that all the activities that we have in our lesson plan actually are created to teach the language that we need to teach through all these different skills that we develop, and at the same time, simultaneously, develop lots of skills through the language that we teach, then we can make sure that this integrated approach is active in our lessons. So skills and language are absolutely interconnected. They are inseparable. It all happens at the same time. So more and more people are saying that the sound is not great. What about now? I hope maybe now it is better. If it changed for better, can you please? Not much better. Okay, great. So let's save it like this. Thank you for the note on this issue. Thank you very much. And I have been talking about becoming adults. So we talk about their future life. It doesn't mean that these interconnections of skills and language will only happen when we discuss some topics that are literally connected with future, like profession, family, higher education, and so on. It actually happens on every lesson, on any topic, absolutely. In fact, I think it might be fun for us if we dive into the past right now. Now take a look at the picture over here. It's a black and white photo, right? It's probably quite old. So can you now type in your chat boxes, who do you think this person is? Who do you see in this picture? Who do you see in this picture? Do you have any ideas who that might be? A girl, a famous person, okay. Anastasia, yeah, probably, a princess. Last time lots of people guessed it is Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth II. Oh, yeah, you've got the same ideas. Great. So you're basically, almost all of you are on the same page here. So now let's actually listen to the recording that comes with the picture. And I want you to listen attentively and type in your chat boxes who exactly this person is. All right? Because this is actually a famous person. You are absolutely correct. So let's just listen and see who this is.
Today, our guest is Claire Price, an expert in the history of children's clothes.
Hello.
Before the program started, Claire showed me some photos of children in the 19th century. One is a black and white photo of what seems to be a little girl. She's got long hair and she's wearing a light-coloured dress, white or possibly light pink. Listeners can see it on our website. But
It's a he, not a she.
in fact, it's Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, aged 2.5.
Okay, yes, so those of you who were able to hear the recording, I'm not sure why some of you had issues with that. You're absolutely right. This is Franklin Roosevelt, the President of the United States. So not quite a girl, right? And this picture comes from a listening lesson from our brand new course book for upper secondary school that's called Highe. So maybe you've already heard about the book. We've done some webinars on the book, getting you acquainted with what it is and how it is unique and different from all the other books that we have. And in this lesson, let's think of what we've done so far and try to analyze it in terms of, first of all, language learning. So from our teacher's point of view, which is easier for us, what was the first task for? Look at the photo. Who do you see in the picture? What did we do here? what kind of task is that? Or maybe what stage of the lesson was this task representing? What do you think? Do you have any ideas? Can you type in your chat boxes, please? Yeah, so you're all absolutely correct. We start the pre-listening stage here, and the exact task here, you're absolutely right, was to make predictions. So try to predict who the person in the picture can be. So this is how we see it as teachers of English. But let's try to analyze it in terms of this skills development. Thinking about different life skills, which of them did we develop through this activity? So I've got a little guidance for you to follow, because actually the process is very quick, but it's quite complex, can help me and you'll guess easily what the skills here are. And the things they do when they look at the picture, trying to make this prediction, is, can you type in your chat boxes what that is? Yes, absolutely correct. That's quite easy. It's critical thinking. So our students, they look at the picture, they analyze it critically to understand what they see. And actually the exact task here for our students was to say if it is a boy or a girl and how they know it. The next skill that our students use doing this activity, very much for being so active in your chat boxes, by the way. The second skill here is a little bit more tricky probably, but I'm sure you can guess what that is. And this time Uliana was the first. Thank you very much, everyone. It is actually making connections. So they analyze the picture, they see the long hair, they see the dress, maybe they see the ball in the child's hands. They need to connect all this information together. And then finally, the last thing, of course, will be what we want them to do, and the very, very important skill for every human and, of course, every adult is, and that is, right, you are. Great. So this time Svetlana was the first. Great, very fast typing skills. Bravo on that. That is decision making. They need to decide on their answer. So you see, even doing such a small and simple task as making predictions, we already help our students develop lots of different skills. And we do it not only in the listening lessons, but also reading and speaking and writing. Anytime we ask them just to predict what will happen next or what the picture represents, this is how much is happening inside their mind at that time. But what about task number 2? So after we make our predictions, we listened to the track, right? So in terms of our language learning, what kind of task was that? So we start the new stage of the lesson, right? We start listening to the recording, actually. And what exact task did we do? So you're right, we're starting the while stage. It's the first task on this stage. And here, if we made predictions before, now we listen to basically check the predictions, right? To see if we're wrong. And you, my dear colleagues, were also listening for some specific information to type in the name of the person, because our students are not asked to do that in this task. It's too difficult for them, because again, this is Highe Note 1, so it's the first level of the course. It's around elementary A2. That's enough for the first listening. You're right, listening for general understanding. That's what this is about. So just to check our predictions. What about the skills that we develop here? So here it becomes a little bit trickier, because they just listen, they look for the word boy, girl, or something that will tell them about this being a boy or a girl, and that's it. And we actually need to pay attention to the second part of the task. that we didn't do. And the second part asks them, were you surprised? Say why. So this addition to the task helps us develop a very important skill that is necessary for absolutely every human being, especially every adult. Maybe some of you can guess or already know what this skill is, trying to understand what you feel, trying to understand what you think, what your thoughts are, what your feelings are. The skill is called reflection, right? When we try to evaluate our emotions, our thoughts, and then, of course, justify, you're absolutely correct, so say what we mean, what we think, and give some proof on that. So why is this reflection skill so important for us as humans? Well, actually, digging into science a bit, I found out that modern scientists say that nothing is truly objective. So unless we are unconscious, and we are sleeping, or maybe, I don't know, in a coma, everything that we see, that we hear, or touch, or smell, absolutely everything that surrounds us is actually processed through our brain. And believe it or not, but every human's brain is different in terms of how it processes the information. That is why sometimes we cannot agree on the colors that we see. We can still be seeing two different things. I'm sure that you've seen this white and gold and black and blue dress. Everybody says it's differently, and it's just because our brains work in a different way. And for us, it means that to talk about absolutely anything, to judge anything, to evaluate, to discuss any issue with other people, first, we need to understand what we think about it, what we feel about this issue, what is our opinion. And this opinion, our view, is usually based on two components. The first being the information on this issue that we have heard or read or seen somewhere, and the second being our life experience that may be connected with this problem or this issue. And this actually leads to a conclusion that to become objective in our views, in our opinions, we need to gain more life experience, we need to learn and understand and perceive more information, so it really takes time. And as adults, we understand that it is very important to be as objective as you can when you discuss any issue with anybody else, at least, just to be a likable person and to be viewed as a reliable person. So how do we help our teens become more objective? How do we develop this objectivity in them? Well, the paradox here is that we need to start with what is subjective for them, what is clear for them, what is very close to them, what is personal. So in this case, we start with developing reflection as a skill. This way, they will learn to evaluate, to analyze their own emotions, feelings, and thoughts. And in our case, we have this last question in the task, right? Were you surprised? Say why. But it also happens in many other tasks throughout the whole book and, well, the whole course. For example, what's important for you in a home? Or would you like to visit the place in the photo? Say why. So justifying. Which of the three breakfasts do you like the most and the least? Say why. Or maybe, are the jokes in the memes fair? Say why. So I'm sure that you've all recognized questions like these. They are present in basically any authentic resource, and we use them a lot when we ask our students about what they think on the issue. What do we call these kinds of questions? or these kinds of tasks, when we want to hear their own opinion or their own view on the issue. Do you have any ideas? Can you type in your chat boxes? What do you usually call the questions like these? Open questions, right? So everybody will have different answers. That is very important. Could be brainstorming, opinion questions, feedback. Great. So lots of wonderful ideas. Basically, all of them mean personalization tasks, right? So we understand the importance of personalization to keep students engaged, to keep them motivated. They love talking about themselves. They remember better when they apply anything to their own life. Plus, at the same time, they will repeat and use our target language that we're teaching right now. And again, simultaneously, we will actually develop this reflection as a skill and help them use it in their future life. So getting back to our page, to our lesson, here is how we can do it in the lesson. The last task here on the page is as follows. In pairs, read the text, answer the questions, compare your answers with other pairs. So you see it's a typical speaking task at the end of the lesson, plus the rubric here is called Reflect Society. So we will be discussing some important social issues here. So the first question in this exercise is, what types of toys did you play with when you were young? What about you, with your colleagues? Can you type in your chat boxes? What types of toys did you have when you were young? I used to have lots of dolls and, you know, some toy furniture my grandma helped me make. Again, so we have lots of dolls in the answers. We've got lots of representatives of our beautiful, as they say, part of the population here, but I'm sure we have lots of men here and they can contribute too and share what they used to play with. So we've got balls, some boots. Okay, that's interesting. Teddy bears, mostly dolls still, and that is very interesting because the next question is, do you think it is important for girls and boys to play with the same toys, and why? So this is a much deeper question. It requires lots of thinking, right? And everybody will have a different opinion on that. The last question here is, how strong is the tradition of blue for boys and pink for girls in your country, so in Ukraine? And I think that, judging by the picture, you will all agree that it is pretty strong here. We go to the shops, we see that everywhere, the blue and the pink, they're all divided. It depends on the shop, depends on the city probably, but still, these are interesting questions that make you think. But how do we organize it on our lesson? Because we said that to have an opinion or a view on something, we need to first have some background information about it and maybe have some life experience. So with life experience here, it's very easy. They were all kids once. They all have some toys to play with. They go to shops, so they will have something to share. But what about some background information? Well, we started it all with the picture where we had a boy with long hair and a dress, so we already talked about some stereotypes here in our pre-listening stage. Then they would work more and more with the listening track, doing some practice exercises. Also, they study some exam preparation strategy here that will help them working with the material. And then there is some vocabulary work after they do the listening. So this is the first part of the information they can use to base their opinion on. And the second is basically part of the task because they are asked to read the text before they answer the questions. So again, lots of people are saying they have problems with sound. I'm not sure if it's the problem here in our office, because it's not, again, everyone. We have lots of people joining us here today. So if you have bad connection, try to log out and log back in. It may work just fine. So these two things, back again, the listening tasks and the information presented in the tracks and the text will constitute this background info that our students will use when they talk about what is asked in the questions. And if we say that this is a discussion kind of tasks, well, there are lots of different types of discussions, and I'm sure that you have your own most favorite ways to organize discussions. By the way, can you probably share some of your favorite ways or approaches to discussion that you use in your classroom? Like I, for example, really like debates. Yeah, and Irene has the same idea here. They are sometimes difficult to organize. They require lots of preparation, but they are very interesting, and the outcome is usually great to evaluate, and it just helps our students with lots and lots of different skills. So lots of different types here, because again, this is High Note 1, elementary, so we're just starting our upper secondary school. It's probably like the 7th or the 8th form. I think we need to start with something simple but effective. And I think that TPS structure will be very, very useful here. I hope that you agree with me that it works great here. TPS actually stands for think, because at first we need to allow them some time to think. These are very personal questions. They need to reflect on their personal experience, on their childhood memories, and then they can share in pairs, right? So they discuss the questions in pairs, they share opinions, maybe they gain the new perspective and they can alter their view a little bit, but at the same time they gain confidence. And yeah, you're right, Lyubov is absolutely right. The last part of the TPS, think, pair, share. So finally, we share our ideas open class. Maybe you draw a chart on the board. Maybe you make a list of toys that everybody had. So it's up to you. But organizing the discussion in this way, you allow them time to think, to gain confidence in their opinions, and to be able to freely share what they think with the whole classroom. And if we pay attention to the questions here, they actually guide our students from being more, subjective about their own childhood, and then slowly broadening the topic, discussing some gender stereotypes that exist in the world, talking about colors and so on. So we work and we develop our students' skills from subjective to objective, at the same time using the language that they learned on this lesson and also during the previous lessons in the unit. And in terms of skills, of course, we develop lots of different skills here. So now there is another vote on the slide. So there are lots of different skills in the voting. Can you please tick the skills that you think our students will have been developing during this discussion task? So again, please do not write the answers in the chat box. Just tick the boxes that are in the voting box on the slide on your screen. So we can see that all of the boxes have been ticked by someone, which is great. So some answers like critical thinking and reflection are in the lead. Respect is also very, very important. And well, actually, while you're still voting, I can still say that you're all absolutely correct, because every single skill that is in the vote right now will be developed if you do an activity like this. Even more so, there are many more skills that we are developing doing a task like this. It's all about critical thinking and, taking perspective, understanding somebody else's point of view. Communication, of course, will be developed if they are discussing the task in pairs and then open class. So all of the skills will be developed here. Thank you very much for your active voting. I think we can probably close the vote right now. So great job, well done, everyone. And if we speak about these skills, how we develop them, this subjective to objective approach doesn't always work. Plus, we as teachers are, responsible for working both ways, for trying an opposite approach, going from more objective topics and then coming to more intimate, more personal questions. And some topics will actually require that absolutely naturally. So let's have another example. We are now going to watch a video from a speaking lesson that introduces lots of functional language. So there will be some handy phrases for our students to use in different situations. The video now will have no sound, so don't worry if you can't hear anything. That's because the video has no sound. But I want you to pay attention at what the students in the video are doing. If you can read from their lips, that would be a great advantage for you. If you cannot, just pay attention to the whole situation in general and try to guess what is happening, what the students are doing. So now there will be no chat box for you to type in. So please just watch the video, and in the voting box above the slide, you can see 3 options, A, B, C, refusing permission, apologizing, giving suggestions. So let's watch the video first and then start voting, because you have some ideas now, but maybe they will change after you actually watch the video. Okay, so I can see the results now. They're split. Well, actually, you can change your vote if you think that maybe you were wrong from the first try. And now more and more people are answering B, apologizing. And you're absolutely correct. Probably the girl who was late helped you guess the topic correctly. So we're talking about apologizing, and in the video, students will use lots of handy phrases, how to apologize, how to explain, and how to accept apologies. So now I'd like you to watch the video with sound this time and tick the phrases that you hear. So again, there will be no chat box here, but you can see the vote. So just listen and tick the phrases that you can hear in the video.
Nathan, this isn't your own work. You just copied and pasted an article from Wikipedia. I'm very disappointed.
Sorry, miss. It was really stupid of me.
It isn't right. It's cheating. I want you to do this project again. So, I'm just waiting for your project, Simon. Have you got it for me?
Hey?
Your project on Argentina. The deadline was today.
I'm sorry, I completely forgot.
Ah, good afternoon, Emily.
Sorry, miss. I didn't realise it was so late.
I see. So you didn't realise it was 5 to 10. Right, sit down. What's going on? Nathan, why is your book on the floor?
It wasn't me, miss.
Sorry, miss. It was my fault. It was an accident.
Right, never mind. Just sit down, please, so we can start the class. Oh, for goodness sake, what is it now? Oh, Headmaster, I'm really sorry.
That's all right, Miss Smith. We all make mistakes. It can happen to anyone.
Right, so this is actually a situation that can happen to anyone. I think lots of things like these happen on our lessons, and I can see that most of you have voted. Thank you very much again for being so active. And you're absolutely correct. All of the phrases were mentioned, and there were many more phrases on accepting apologies and explaining. So our students will learn lots of important and necessary functional language from the video. So thanks for the voting. And this video comes from a speaking lesson from High Note 2. So we're moving upwards one level higher, right? High Note 2 is around A2 plus B1. So I think you heard that from the video here, from the speech of the participants. And if we analyze the lesson, so it all started with the video. That is, of course, our listening comprehension, plus it works as the model for later speaking. And then they will work with the functional language. They will do some exercises, more listening, of course, a little bit of role play. And finally, okay, again, you're saying that the connection is not great. Well, I can only apologize. Try to reconnect, but there is nothing I personally can do with the issue. So I hope you can at least partially hear me and we'll see what's going on the slides. So the last step on the lesson, because this is a speaking lesson, will probably be some speaking skills development. And again, here, the task is the same Reflect Society rubric with some questions for our students to answer. So now we'll take a look at the questions. Do not answer in your chat boxes. Just try to think about what you feel about these questions. Just try to reflect on the questions, and well, then we'll see what happens. So the first one is, the British say sorry very often. Is this true of people in your country? So we start with traditional stereotypes about Britain compared to Ukraine. Question number 2, is it easy to say sorry or admit you're wrong? A much deeper question, right? Requires some thinking, but still, well, quite general. When was the last time you said sorry and why? So now we're getting much more personal, but they will require again some time to recollect when that happened and why that happened and be ready to share. Did you ever say something was your fault when it wasn't? So that's a very interesting question and will also require some time to remember probably. Or when is it okay not to accept an apology? So this question will have many different answers because again, based on their life experience, everyone will find absolutely different actions or words as unforgivable, so that they cannot accept an apology after that. So with a task like this, again, our think, pair, share type of a discussion will fit perfectly well. All the same benefits apply here. The only difference is that now we're leading our students from more general topics, from more traditional questions, again, judging about all the people in general, and then narrowing it down to their personal views, their personal life experience. So the structure is quite opposite than the one that we've analyzed before. Right, we start Britain and Ukraine, and then we go more and more deep into their personalities. And of course, at the same time, we'll develop lots of different skills, and this is actually huge. So we can see how much we can do with our students and help them with their skills development doing simple tasks like these. And it works like this with all types of the activities, not just speaking, not just listening, as long as we remember that everything is interconnected, that language and skills are inseparable, it all happens at the same time. We just sometimes need to take a look at these things, at the activities that we do, from a different angle, from a different perspective. And if you like the idea of how it is presented in the tasks like these in Highe Note, how they gradually develop all these skills with some personal tasks and these reflect rubrics, then you'll probably enjoy the idea of whole spreads that are devoted to life skills. So in Highe Note, there are life skills spreads every 2 units, and they're devoted to developing different skills like how to give successful presentation, how to plan your time successfully, or like here, how advertising works. And the structure of this spread is quite similar. It all starts with some input of vocabulary in texts and maybe listening tracks. Then they do some practice activities. When they work with the material they are studying, they work with the vocab, they practice the skill that they are developing currently, and it all always ends with the project work. For example, this lesson, they will have to prepare several advertisements they find probably on the internet nowadays, and they need to analyze them in terms of tricks that are used there to make us buy the products. So they will actually apply the skill that was developed in the lesson. At the same time, there are some extra tasks that are aimed at this personal skills development, some personalized questions like, for example, have you ever bought something because of an advert? Are you a spontaneous buyer? Or you leave all the information about each product that you see in the advertisements. That is something for adults, but not you need to be objective, you need to be critical. So again, we'll develop lots of different skills here. And these spreads, these life skills spreads, together with these personalized questions throughout all the lessons in every unit, plus this reflect rubrics that discuss issues of society, also culture and values. So these 3 components altogether constitute this life skills development program that was developed by the authors of Highe Note. And this program is aimed at constant gradual development of different life skills throughout all the 5 levels of the course. And it is very useful for teachers because the program is so thoughtfully developed that it would require actually no extra effort from teachers to make sure that they are not only teaching the language, but also developing students' skills that are necessary for them as future adults. The only thing we need is just to be aware of how much we're doing and how much we're influencing the development of our students on our lessons like these. And we've discussed that it takes time to become objective for teens because most of them are very emotional. They throw tantrums on our lessons. They're pretty stubborn. They are difficult to talk to sometimes. And it happens that we can actually think that they see everything as, black and white, don't want to listen to what we are saying. And sometimes we can blame it on the lack of life experience, right? So we say something like, you will understand it when you grow up, meaning that you will gain more information and probably you'll be able to understand. But actually, it is not only that. It is not just because they don't have life experience or because they don't want to listen to us that they behave like this. They behave very emotionally. There is actually some physiological reasons why they behave like that. And if you're interested to know what causes our teens this emotional and sometimes stubborn development and how we can not only, cope with it on our lessons, but also use our English lessons and use the activities that we usually do to help them grow and develop also mentally, and at the same time teach the same language that we need to teach. Well, I've got some news for you because we are actually launching the first series of paid-for online trainings as the continuation of the topics that are raised in our current webinar sessions. So if you want to find out more about these reasons why students behave like this and how we can help them develop the necessary skills to overcome these physiological things that in their brain that make them behave like this, you can take a look at the information about the webinar. The link that you see on the slide is actually active. You can click on the link and you will get to the page where you can read about the content of the webinar, when it happens, how to pay, and so on. So you can click on the link on the slide, find out more about the next webinar on the life skills. And if you want to know more about the book, if you want to find out more about Highe, you can go to our webpage, eltidinternal.com.ua, or again, you can click on the link on the slide right now. It is also active, and you will find out more information about the book. You can see some example units, you can watch some example videos, and find out all the information about the book that you may be interested in. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Internal Education Facebook page to stay, in touch with us, to keep up with all the news, to find out first about all the webinars and seminars that are upcoming. We've got lots of things coming up these 2 months. So just subscribe. And of course, I want to remind you that you will get your certificate this week or the next week, so 1 week after the webinar. So check your email, also check the spam box, maybe it gets in there. And well, thank you very much for joining me here today. Thank you for being so active with the voting. I'm so sorry that some of you experienced some technical issues, but the recording of the webinar will be available on our webpage, eltidinternal.com.ua. You can find lots of other recordings in there. So if you had troubles connecting today, you can still watch the webinar as a recording if you're interested in the information that was shared here today. If you get any questions, I'll be here for another couple of minutes, ready and eager to answer any questions. And well, for now on, again, thank you very much and have a nice evening, and see you again sometimes. Yeah, thank you everyone for wonderful feedback. And well, yeah, see you soon, right? So bye-bye everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.